Hey everybody, we're wrapping up Father's Day movie review month with Tron Legacy. Before we continue, please like and subscribe. Follow me in the links in the description below. And yeah, let's continue on. So, this movie is directed by Joseph Kosinski. And it stars Garrett Hedlund as Sam Flynn, the son of Kevin Flynn. Jeff Bridges reprises his role as Kevin Flynn and Clue. Olivia Wilde as Cora. Bruce Boxlinger as Alan Bradley. Also as Tron again. Michael Sheen as Zeus. James Fran as Jervis. And we got like a crazy cameo that hopefully in the third film that's being made to the Tron franchise, Cillian Murphy as an uncredited appearance as Edward Dillinger Jr., which I want to say here and now because he isn't like critical to the overall plot in this, which was something that's it was very striking to me. And yeah, there's like a bigger narrative that's already at play here, so it'll feel kind of clunky. But maybe there was like an expectation for a third film that took too long to come out, or at least get off the ground. Because this movie came out in 2010 in December. Had like a budget of $170 million, but came out with $400 million at the time, which is amazing. But it's like, I don't know, clearly they were setting up for like a revenge from like the Dillinger family, I guess, or the legacy, if you will. Because you got Sam, whose father pretty much ousted the other kid's father, who was the one who plagiarized Kevin in the first place. But I guess the father was ruined, and I clearly expect the third film, which is going to be called Tron Ares, for that son to seek revenge in some kind of way towards Sam Flynn. But why would you, especially since here Alan is the chairperson here, at least not the primary. What is it? It's like how did it describe him? Yeah, primary shareholder of Incom. And he and many others over time would have gotten word about, Dillinger's, not to say like, the sins of the father kind of situation, but you'll be looking very side-eye towards this kid, and you hire him. Now, it's not saying like, any company has every right to not hire somebody. It doesn't necessarily need to be about like their in criminal background or anything like that. But you'll be very skeptical about hiring somebody, especially who's sitting at these board meetings and everything like that. It's like, okay, I wouldn't even trust this kid. Who knows what his dad been telling him or teaching him or whatever like that before he came into play. It's like, no, wow, like I would not hire you. It's not on you, but it's the fact that your father, who was a known plagiarist, who was probably doing shady stuff anyway, I wouldn't, I can't bring you along because I don't know what, is going on with you. I can't blame you for what your father did, but it's like, I cannot trust if you won't pull some stuff behind the scenes. You shouldn't even be in this freaking board meeting, let alone work for us. That's all I'm saying. But he should have been like a rival company, a potential upstart company that would rival Encom and become like which is kind of ironic given who Jeff Bridges plays, but it'd be kind of like Stark versus Obadiah Stane in terms of, business savvy protagonists and antagonists. Anyway, so we had a little bit of backstory where now Sam, several years after Kevin got control over Encom, he had a kid who, I don't know if it was the girl Morgan or some other woman that was never brought up. Who knows who the mom was? Since I saw this film years ago, I was always under the assumption that Morgan and Flynn got together, and her and Alan had some kind of falling out. I doubt it, but it's never truly explained what the mom was. But anyway, he's telling his young son, who's 7 years old at the time, about the amazing world of the grid and Tron and the light cycles and all other stuff. And this is the first time we actually see like Kevin's parents. We never even see them in the first film, which obviously makes sense. Why would we need to bring them up? But he promised his son, like, one day you'll come into the grid with me and I'll show you all around. We're going to be doing some great, wondrous things there that I want to show you. But then when he goes out that night to go back to the grid, he's never seen again. And over the years, people suspect, like, oh, he's gone missing. Something must have happened. It became this big scandal, or this, big news about like a CEO to this high-profile company is just up and disappeared, leaving behind a child. So Alan became like a pseudo dad throughout the years. So now a 27-year-old Sam is playing pretty much, I won't say a prank, but sabotaging technically his own company. But his typical story where it's like, it's kind of like a young Bruce Wayne, doesn't want to take control of his own company because he still got some kind of hang up over his missing dad that most people think he's dead, which Alan seems like the only one that doesn't believe that. So he breaks inside Encom to sabotage this new software that a young Dillinger, Dillinger Jr. and others plan on charging people for. But Alan's, it's like, this is not how Kevin Flynn would have wanted, and this is not how, because he always wanted like certain things to be free to the world, that kind of thing. But they want to get back to the old way of things, where how like Dillinger Sr. used to run things, where it's supposed to be making like some kind of profit. I guess that's partly why they brought in Dillinger Jr. in the first place, partly against Alan's wishes. But Sam breaks in, hacks the system, and distributes this high-profile software, to the masses. So now they have a pivot, and so Dillinger Jr. suggests, okay, just say it was like a gift, something like to wet people's whistle for something bigger, kind of thing. Sam ultimately gets busted after he parachutes off the top of the building, and Alan bails him out, and I guess he has his own little bachelor pad that's by the water. It looks like almost like a garage, that turned into some kind of bachelor pad that's overlooking the bridge and the city, by the water. And Alan comes by to let him know there was some kind of he got a page towards a number that's supposed to have been discontinued years ago, and he suspects that it's Sam's father. So he hands Sam the keys to Flynn's arcade shop because that's where it came from. So Sam goes in, turns on the arcade, and it's very retro. I'm glad they kind of redone up the old arcade to be exactly how we saw it in the first film. It's just covered in plastic and it's dust everywhere, and the neighborhood in it of itself is like run down because obviously this guy hasn't been keeping the place up because he's been busy with a family and a company. Which, if it was me, I would have had like somebody I trusted run the shop the entire time. Maybe you're like a high profile guy. I'm pretty sure you could have made sure that is maintained and ran by somebody you trusted the whole entire time. That's just what I was always thought about. Because it would have been cool to run like a game shot. But then again, and look at it through the real world perspective, like there's rare places that you find like arcades nowadays where people have like consoles at home or PCs. Anyway, so Sam goes down in the basement to access this computer terminal, and lo and behold, right behind him is the same effing laser thing that beams him inside the grid. Now, at first I'm thinking like, why do you have this thing? Why you didn't dismantle this stupid thing? And then I thought it's like maybe he needs to take that thing to, obviously that is the case. So he took that thing so he can be able to gain access to the grid because he sees an opportunity to use it for the betterment of the world. Because in the flashback, we get a young Flynn, explaining to a crowd of people about inside the grid, there's potential for a betterment of mankind through medicine, religion somehow, engineering, all kinds of prospects to take what we know from the grid and try to apply it in real world facets. So while inside, Sam is now he captured, but I want to make a point about this. Once again, the aesthetic and the cinematography of the Tron, the grid world, is amazing, and it's definitely like a step up, like a massive step up from the first film. It's just the black on the mixed with the neon. It looks so clean, and all the vehicles that we saw from the first film makes a return here, but they're a little bit more mechanical than it was in the first film, like an actual vehicle. Which, by the way, once you like you know, turn in, turn on like the mechanism to get your light cycle. You get this kind of blueprint type of design where it's like it forms in like a blueprint type of neon design where you see all the components, and it's like, it's coming into being from the base, mechanical parts into the whole machine itself, and it looks so good. But also, instead of like just the light cycles or like that reverse U shape uh, thing that you steer that you saw in the first film, you also now get to see more machine vehicles, where it's like a paragliding uh, butterfly wingsuit things. You also get like, aircraft light vehicles. It's like, okay, wow, you took it a whole nother level. And you actually get cars, not just cycles. You get like cars now. We got to see one car, but still, it's like a more improved version of. It's better in every way than a light cycle. Really no contest. So the improvements on this film is amazing, and the soundtrack to this film is top notch. More importantly, is Daft Punk doing most of the soundtrack, most of the music to the soundtrack, which is always a treat to hear. It's such a pleasing thing, and Daft Punk in and of themselves fits seamlessly to this world. It's like, I buy the fact that these guys would be like, they always look like Tron characters in real life. We just never put two and two together until they were cast for cameos in this film, which is like, makes perfect sense. That is amazing. I love it. Anyway, so Flynn, like his father, is like a fish out of water. Doesn't know what the heck is going on, but he quickly realizes he's in the grid. And you get a change of clothes, and the clothes in this is greatly improved. It's very cyberpunk look, and it's just top notch. So he is forced into the games and gets wounded by this character called like Reisler. And he's taken to meet like the big honcho, Clue, and it's a young Kevin Flynn who Sam at first thinks is his dad, but quickly realize that, oh, it's Clue, like what his father told him all those years ago, that because Clue in the first film was Derez, but sometime much later, Kevin recreated him to help him and Tron run the grid. But it turns he is sending Sam to the grid for the light cycle part of the game, so he can get rid of him. But thanks to the timely intervention of this female named Cora with a Q, not with a K, who helps him escape the grid and get off out of the city entirely and into this kind of barren wasteland where other programs cannot, tread, because it messes with their internal works. And there's where he meets his father, who's now, the right age, Jeff Bridges. Now, before we continue on, I want to make a note, and this is my personal opinion here, because The Boys season 4 is running at the time of this recording, and honestly, there are certain moments I'm getting a Homelander vibes from Clue. Now, I understand the de-aging effects of Jeff Bridges here. No, they do not hold up. There are some moments that actually looks fine, but over the time, over the years, there's been some improvements on the de-aging effects, but the Uncanny Valley stuff still happens from time to time, i.e., Princess Leia in Rogue One. So, in looking back, I honestly say that was fine by comparison to some de-aging effects of today, despite it's supposed to be improved by this point. You find it funny that it's 2024 and this came out in 2010, and the de-aging effect only slightly improved over that amount of time, 14 years. And I know technology tends to advance, sometimes slowly, but think about all the de-aging effects that came about between then and now, and we only get slight improvements depending on the film that we're watching or the TV show that we're watching. That is pitiful. And somehow there are certain occasions where the Jeff Bridges de-aging effect looks better in some ways compared to some stuff that we have even now. That is wild to me. If you're going to use de-aging effects as of right now, it should have been perfect across the board, at least in the past few years. And the reason I bring up the Homelander situation is that it's just the certain smile that Clue gives. It gives like an air of a threat. Like he's capable. He's a top tier creation of Kevin Flynn, which puts him above almost everybody else. And the amount of control he wields is just like he can easily, like this wormy little stooge that he has. That is the quintessential bootlicker. Clearly annoying the heck out of him, but he's got that wry smile, like I will freaking rip your head off if you don't get out of my face right now. It's just like that sly smile, and I just can't help but think about the way like that uneasy feeling you get around Homelander, even when he's smiling, looks like he's seconds away of tearing you in half. I get that same vibe from Clue in certain spots. Now, of course, The Boys only came out a few years ago, while this came out in 2010. But honestly, if you do a comparison in certain shots with with that quiet intensity that Homelander gives, and you compare it with Clue in certain aspects or certain scenes, it's right up there. And it's get uneasy feelings from this dude, where it's like, oh my god, like this dude can do serious damage if you keep crossing him, and he has like such an air of authority. He he has pretty much like an army, which is kind of like a glorified stormtroopers, and it gives him more air of a threat. Anyway, so Sam, talks with his father. They reconnect. They catch up a bit. He learns a bit. Oh, well, like, Alan's the, shareholder. The parents died, when he was 12. I didn't have time for a girlfriend. I dropped out of your alma mater after a certain period. But then he finally, clears the air because there's an elephant in the room about why he didn't come back home. The last time he saw his son, he went back to the grid and realized that, after he created Clue, at that time, he had like a mindset of, this world can be like, has such perfection, and that was his, kind of mission, where it's like you want to perfect this the grid, so he can take it and utilize that same perfection and try to apply it to the world to try to help the world. But there was an era of youthful arrogance, even though around that time he probably would have been in his 40s. So Clue has that same mindset, but none of the eventual growth that Flynn will get. So while building the grid, there was this, miracle that happened where these isomorphic algorithms called ISOs for short, starts appearing out of nowhere. Nobody created them. It's kind of like, Jurassic Park, life finds a way kind of situation. And, they were, as Flynn calls them, like they're wonderfully naive, but so wise in a lot of ways. And he saw potential in them to help his mission with perfecting the world, and they're beautiful beings. And essentially, Kevin Flynn was like God in this scenario, if you look at it that way, because they see users as their kind of like their religion, and Kevin Flynn was their God. He created a lot of things. So in their world, in their mindset, like, why wouldn't they consider him like, their God? So Clue had a problem with the ISOs. He didn't see them as perfection. They were, he saw them as like imperfect beings not fit for the plan. So he staged a coup. Him and Tron were ambushed by Clue and his cronies. Of course, Tron managed to beat the cronies, but then he got overpowered by Clue. He tells Flynn to just run, and off panel it appears that Tron was killed by Clue, but he only was reprogrammed to Rensler, and that little just OP character who is like, Clue's personal hitman. So Clue killed the ISOs. It was like a massive genocide, while Kevin was looking on in horror. And since the portal to the real world is only open for a limited time, he could not go back. And anytime he tried to fight back to Clue, it only strengthens him. So he pretty much turned into some kind of hermit where he's living off the grid, but somehow he managed to have food, and well, they all get it's drinkable like liquids, for because you saw that in the first film. It's like their own version, like cyber water or something like that energizes them. But somehow he managed, because they were at a dinner table and the boy was eating asparagus, and there's like a big roasted pig on the table. How do you have animals here? You're in cyberspace, unless it's something like the Matrix, where it's like it's like your brain thinks it is, then you're fed kind of thing. I'm not sure, but it's kind of wild to me. It didn't make a lick of sense unless you apply the same standards as the Matrix to this. Then I guess it's just like your brain will trick you into thinking like you're actually eating a cooked pig. But they also got books there, so like, once again, Matrix logic. So maybe you just digitize. Well, he's God in this, so I guess he managed to make whatever he wants to with only a certain amount of limits, I guess. Was never clear. I guess he not meant to think too hard about it, or suspend your disbelief a bit. So uh, he was trapped here, and he took on Cora as his apprentice, who turns out to be the last surviving ISO that Flynn took on as an apprentice and protected her. But I can't help but think, because Sam is getting kind of close with Cora, but since Flynn was here for 20 years, I can't help but think, and it's maybe because I probably got a dirty mind or something, but you was here, you was in your 40s at this time. You was by yourself. Now, unless you had to eat and drink, so you probably had to still have other needs that need to be met. I was gonna say, were you banging Cora this whole time? And it's like, I can't help but think about it, like you must have. It was like she was like the female in your little cottage thing, and it's like the other programs probably don't have sex in a, I guess, traditional way, but clearly you see that like a club setting where Daft Punk is, these female programs are, flirting with male programs, like a lounge club kind of setting, and it's like, okay, do y'all? Like I said, I don't know. I can't imagine like programs actually have like sexual urges, but I don't know. I guess you're not meant to think too hard about that. But anyway, Sam wants to rush to the portal because they only got 8 hours, before it closes. But Kevin wants to wait it out because there's supposed to be some kind of uprising that would hopefully take care of Clue, so that way he doesn't have to interfere, because he only going to make this guy stronger if he steps on the grid. Plus, Clue would immediately know he's there by the moment he steps into the city. And this kind of ties in to this one season TV show on Disney Plus that was on Disney XD at the time, years ago, called Tron Uprising. It's supposed to set between the first and second film, but I guess leading into the second film, where it's supposed to have been like these, Clue, was rising to power, and Tron was helping to try to fight them back, and he's teaching this protege named Beck. I mean, you can check up on Disney Plus. The show's on Disney Plus. It only had the one season, and it's supposed to building this type of resistance group to fight against Clue's forces. Now, Clue wasn't like the primary bad guy in the show. It was some kind of general that works under him. I seen the show. It looks good. Definitely got Tron type of CGI type of movie. It's like something like something akin to like Transformers Beast Wars, that 3D animation. And I like it. The look fine. I just don't remember the narrative being all that memorable. And of course, it was canceled after one season. I don't know if they left it on a cliffhanger or it actually still ducktails nicely into what we have into this film. Because we do hear people in the club, who's resistance fighters, probably tangentially tied into the uprising show. Anyway, so Sam thinks like, his father's being kind of a coward, and we only had a limited time in order to get out of here. So Cora offers Sam this little disc thing, to where she knows this program that helped her out years ago that he can meet up with to give him the like a safe passage to the way out. So Sam goes to this club setting. He meets up with this female program that he met up when he got there. uh, earlier, and she introduces him to Zeus, who goes by a different name, but Zeus is like his this secret guy that gets people everything that they need, kind of thing, like kind of like the guy who can find anything and get you what you need, that type of fella. And I love Michael Sheen's portrayal in this. It's very iconic for him, right up there with the character in the Twilight films, even though nobody likes those series of films. But his character definitely stood out because of the meme, the iconic laughing meme. But he's in many other things. But like, I think like the most underrated performance from Michael Sheen is his portrayal in this film as Zeus. He's kind of come across like Jim Carrey's the Riddler in a way, and that's probably why he's so much fun. Like, I love Michael Sheen because he always gives it his all in his performances. No, the wilder the better for him. It's like, not like Nick Cage, but kind of like Nick Cage, where he just goes kind of wild. But Zeus ends up betraying him to steal his disc so he can bargain it with Clue. But Chorus shows up in the nick of time, Deus Ex Machina, to help fight off the guards inside. But she gets wounded. Kevin shows up and put a stop to everything to rescue the two. But not before one of the guards steals his personalized disc. So as they make their escape, Clue and the others show up. Oh, and by the way, they end up, once Kevin and the others find once Kevin and the others lands on the grid, Clue tracks down the origin point of the cycle. And Core just explained not too long ago that programs aren't allowed in this little, desolate area. It's kind of like a no zone for them. But somehow they got to Kevin's home and they searching the place and everything like that with no disc, because Clue's looking for that disc so he can make it, because this is the plan. He was trying to trick Alan, because he was sending the page to Alan to try to get him inside the grid. But the sun ended up showing up instead. So that's why Kevin didn't want to act, because Clue was gonna probably expect him to make a run for it to the portal so that way he can intercept them easily, because he had he had like a problem trying to find Kevin while he was out in this desolate land. But they made their way back to the city once word got out where, the sighting of Kevin. So he shows up to the lounge and he takes the disc. And this is where the Homelander kind of vibes comes into play for me, where it's like this dude trying to bargain with Zeus, but it's like, I don't have to bargain with you. I take what I want. Or in Homelander's verbiage, I can do what I want. So he just lets the dude do all this talking, trying to bargain with him. So he mixes a drink just calmly, doesn't have to say much. He walks around, hands this guy the drink, and just hold out his hand. Just give him my freaking disc. I ain't trying to listen to your little yap. So he hands the disc over while his guards plant charges everywhere. And, Michael Sheen's character Zeus and his assistant that Sam met earlier, they die. So, uh, while trying to make their way to the portal, because Kevin's like, okay, well, we're here now, so might as well keep going because the cat's out of the bag. Clue knows I'm here, so we gotta go. So he takes Cora's disc to get inside her information so he can take out the damaged, data, so that way she can reconstitute herself. So they end up making their way at least close enough to the portal, but they get intercepted by a warship, so they have to hide. But Cora then gives her disc to Kevin, so that way she can distract Tron. She gets captured and taken to meet Clue. And while the Flynns try to make their way to the quarters of Clue to get, Kevin's disc, you see like a very parallel moment with Clue making this grandiose speech towards his troops, very reminiscent of the type of dialogue he was given, Kevin was given in the real world to the masses. And it's like for different, prospects. Like, because like Kevin like says like, in there is our destiny. We in there is our future. But in Clue's kind of space, it's kind of like a reverse, where it's like out there is our destiny, because Kevin really doesn't want Clue to get out, because if Kevin can get in, these guys can easily get out, and he doesn't want Clue to get out because he is obsessed with perfection. But if he gets out there, especially the way he looks, people are gonna just assume it's him, Kevin, and he's gonna have immediate control, and he's gonna be obsessed with perfecting everything. And there's no more imperfect things than our real world. So he's gonna go wreak havoc. We cannot have him gain access to the real world. But Sam needs to save Cora. So they split off. Sam manages to save Cora and get the disc, while Kevin finds a getaway light plane. And they reconvene while they do this plane chase sequence, or very like reminiscent to clearly like Star Wars with the TIE fighters and everything like that. And I love the ribbon of lights and that circles the air. And as they, shooting down all these cronies in their aircrafts, Tron, when he finally sees Kevin, it kind of shocks him back to his senses. And he remembers who he was. So he collides his plane into Clue, allowing his friends to escape. But he ends up falling into the sea of, like, what do they call it? A sea of something. A sea of simulation. But Clue still managed to survive. Well, technically, we don't know what happened to Tron. He just seems to sink into this ocean type of thing. But nobody know. You can't confirm if he's really dead. So you can actually really utilize Tron again in the third film. But Clue managed to beat them somehow to the exit. And he's telling Kevin that you made me to perfect everything. Like, I'm what you made me. Like, am I not supposed to do this? Am I not supposed to do that? And Kevin's like, yeah, you did what you saw fit and you did what you was programmed to do. But the problem was my naivete at that time when I created you. I didn't realize chasing perfection is impossible, because the idea of perfection is unknowable. You can never get that. Even in something like cyberspace, there's no such thing as perfect. But he couldn't, like, Clue couldn't handle it. He's trying to steal, like, his disc, while Sam and Cora trying to make their way to the exit. But when Clue realized Kevin swapped his disc with Cora's disc, he tries to run after them, but Kevin pulls this move where he realigns with, or at least reintegrate himself with Clue, which he stated earlier how that could be devastating, or at least Cora mentioned how that could be devastating to Kevin in his own right, because his body wouldn't be able to handle that. But it was a necessary sacrifice in order to make sure his son makes it out. Because above all else, his greatest creation is his son. And so he makes it out with Cora because, according to Kevin, she is a key. You will need her in order to help the world. So Cora and Sam make it out safely. Sam sets everything down and got all the information backed up, so that way he meets up with Alan, tells him he's ready to take over and Encom now, and put him as the primary chairman. And he rides off with Cora, who has like a physical body now, but I'm pretty sure still gets some kind of cybernetic stuff still about her. I'm not sure. Maybe some kind of blend within the two. Don't know. Never understood how that will work. Maybe they could explain that in the third film, depending on what the story will be. Because they have to do something, because he rides off in the sunrise towards the city, and he's planning on utilizing what his father wanted to help the world. And how in the third film would that world look like, with what Sam will apply what his father would always dream of doing with like helping with like medicine and engineering and all this other stuff. So that'd be kind of interesting. But that was Tron Legacy. Like I said, great film. And didn't really get much love, maybe because people were so hung up about the de-aging Jeff Bridges, because that's like the primary thing people kind of crap on. But if you really like dive into the conversation, you will have more stuff to love about this film, more so than you find anything wrong with it. Is it the next Godfather? No. But honestly, it is still an impressive film. Impressive to look at. Incredible soundtrack. The narrative is average, but it's simple. Which I will take that over a trash narrative any day of the week. I kind of wish they would have been clear about exactly how you're going to apply what's in a grid and try to utilize it to help the world. I wish they were a little bit more clear on that, and a little bit more clear on what is core in the real world. Yes, he's an ISO, not a normal program, but is he really flesh and blood, or is she like a mix between cybernetic and human now? Really wish they kind of been a little bit more clear on that. But anyway, that was Tron Legacy. Next month I'll have some Independence Day type of films to cover. But it's a little bit more lighter in terms of reviews next month. thankfully, because we been kind of busy with Father's Day and Mother's Day review months. But now it's, the workload's gonna get a little bit lighter now. Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow for some games that I'll be playing myself. But it's been fun to revisit the Tron films. I really love the franchise, and I'm looking forward to Tron Ares. That's the third film they plan on making. Don't know if it's coming out next year or maybe probably 2026, more than likely. But I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Tron franchise. What do you expect from the third film? And what do you think of Tron Legacy as a whole? And I'll see you guys soon. Take care.